The movie takes place in the year 2040. A team of 8 astronauts has been sent to Mars to research the possibility of living. The team has reached their last say and they now have to report back to the station. On the deserted land of Mars, Vincent Campbell and Rebecca Lane ride a spaceship rover vehicle through a sandstorm to reach an excavation site to reach Kim Alric, their biologist. Kim is digging up some samples of the land for the research. Upon reaching the site, Vincent tells Kim to wrap up her work as they need to return to the base in 19 hours. Kim, who is engrossed in her dig, ignores the radio message and asks them to leave her alone. While waiting for Kim in the rover, Lane asks Vincent to list 10 things he won't miss on Mars. Vincent mentions the sandstorms and Kim's annoyed attitude. Vincent then expresses concern about the 6-month journey back to Earth, fearing that they might never make it back alive. Lane suggests it won't be bad as they might finally reach the Earth and get to walk on green grass under a blue sky. After not getting any outcome, Kim gives up and finally joins them in the vehicle. Kim feels angry for having been working for 6 months and not finding any sample that could help them. She regrets returning to Earth empty-handed due to insufficient time. On their way back to Tantalus Base, Captain Charles Brunel urges the team to fix the communications link with the Aurora space station. Another crewmate, Richard Harrington, restores the signal, but the power goes out. One of the members, Marko Petrovich, asks Brunel to visit an excavation site, Site 9, to fix a broken gamma sensor. Brunel hesitates at first due to the shortage of time since they have to return, but he eventually agrees, requesting Marko to take Harrington and return before dark. Vincent, Kim, and Lane arrive as Marko and meet Harrington, who is in a hurry to leave. Kim is upset about Brunel allowing Marko to go. On their way, Marko instructs Harrington to prepare sample boxes labeled MA1 for microscopic anomaly. Kim gets suspicious of what made Marko leave so quickly. To clear her doubts, she sneakily checks Marko's workstation to see if he is hiding something. To her shock, Kim discovers images of cavities on a rock, potentially microbial borings. This meant that Marko had discovered the signs of living on this planet. Kim alerts everyone on this as they all gather up at Marko's station. Examining the sample under a microscope, they find signs of bacterial cell division. Kim realizes Marko was very secretive about this to steal all the credit. Brunel tries to contact Marko and Harrington and decides to follow them. On the other hand, Marko reaches the site to gather the sample. While inspecting the soil sample with living bacteria, the ground suddenly starts shaking. Harrington, who is waiting in the rover, is unable to see Marko. Suddenly the land collapses, swallowing Marko. Harrington notices some steam at the site and gets out of the vehicle to rush for Marko's help. Brunel and Dalby arrive at the site but find Harrington standing next to a pit. Harrington claims Marko is dead, falling in the pit. Dalby, who was close to Marko, cries and blames Harrington for not helping Marko. Dalby believes Marko might still be alive and wants to go down the pit, but Brunel stops her. He informs her that the pit is too deep and can injure her as well. Moreover, they do not have the proper tools to go down and assess the situation. Brunel and Harrington return to the base for proper gear to retrieve Marko's body, while Dalby offers to stay at the site. When Brunel and Harrington return to the base, Kim asks them about their discovery. Harrington mentions Marko's death, but Kim hints it's Marko's fault for breaking protocol. The team contacts the authorities at the station to address the issue. Mission Control soon allows them to retrieve Marko and gives them time for their rescue mission. Brunel takes Lane, Irwin, and Vincent back to the site, feeling it wouldn't be fair to send Harrington. While Dalby waits in the rover, she hears someone trying to enter. Dalby tries to radio Brunel, but interference blocks her. As she panics and tries to see outside, she discovers something shocking and screams out loud. After the team arrives at the site, they see Dalby is missing, and Brunel assumes she disobeyed the command and went into the pit to save Marko. Vincent decides to go into the pit, strapped to a rope. Near the bottom, he spots a microbial organism on a rock. The organism keeps growing, meaning that there is a form of life or bacteria that spreads. After Vincent is pulled up, he reassures Brunel that he didn't spot anyone at the pit's bottom. Suddenly, Irwin notices footprints of 2 people heading towards the base. Since there is no other life, they believe that Dalby was able to save Marko, and the 2 individuals head towards the base. However, Brunel wonders why they would walk to the base as they could have used the rover to drive. Back at the base, Harrington checks the tracking system, revealing 2 figures 50 meters from the base. Kim attempts radio contact while Harrington prepares to let them in. On monitors, a huge figure approaches the base. Upon opening the airlock, Marco collapses with a helmet hole. Harrington tries to help Marco, but as he removes his helmet, he sees a zombie-like black burnt face. Harrington, shocked by Marco's skeletal face, tries to help, but Marco grabs an electric drill and attacks Harrington, injuring him badly. Despite the injury, Harrington manages to press the danger alarm to alert Kim. Kim rushes to the airlock but retreats as Marco walks towards her. Dalby, who is also infected, reaches the base and enters the airlock. Marco and Dalby catch up to Kim, who struggles to escape. Kim successfully runs to the other room and locks the door behind, capturing the infected astronauts in one room. Upon arriving, Brunel and the rest discover the base in chaos. Brunel asks the members to stay outside while he alone walks in to deal with a possible danger. Upon entering, he sees blood everywhere. Brunel finds Kim and sees the infected crewmates locked in the other room through the glass window. Brunel tells Kim that they need to evacuate and go to the other base immediately. Unfortunately, Marco breaks the glass door, and Brunel advises Kim to suit up while he attempts to distract their infected crewmates. When Marco walks closer, Brunel tries to reason with him, but it fails. Kim, suited up, leaves the base on time. Brunel also runs towards the airlock, but the zombie catches and stabs him before he can escape. Surviving crew members disable the door, trapping the zombies, and seek refuge in the hydroponic dome. Lane tries to treat Brunel's wound, but realizes that due to her lack of medical expertise, she might not be able to save the man. Suddenly, Brunel seizes Irwin by the neck, prompting the crew to intervene and capture Brunel. After calming down, Brunel loses consciousness, and the crew realizes that he has died. Fearing rebirth, Kim secures Brunel to a table against Irwin's request, pointing to Dalby and Marco's post-exposure actions. She tells them that since Brunel also had contact with the virus, he might reawaken in a zombie state as well. Vincent chooses to cover the corpse with a blanket. An explosion outside hints that the zombies might have escaped, rupturing the airlock. With space station communication lost, Vincent plans to use the underground oxygen feed to return and repair the Skylink for assistance. Crawling through the pipe, Vincent, accompanied by Lane, extracts a blood sample from Brunel, revealing an infection similar to Marco's. Upon reaching the main base, Vincent witnesses a scene of bloodied mess everywhere. Meanwhile, Lane decides to use an antibiotic to neutralize the bacteria. The team creates an antidote for the bacteria by modifying the same zombie virus. They decide to conduct a test on Brunel's blood. Upon injection, Brunel's body convulses and distorts, indicating a reaction to the solution. Lane speculates he's trying to combat the infection, whereas Kim emphasizes that the movements result from reflexes. As the corpse stops moving and convulsing, Lane draws another blood sample and tests it. The test reveals that the zombie bacteria in Brunel have stopped multiplying with the effect of the antidote. Kim converts a sample into a decontamination spray for use against zombies. Vincent successfully contacts Aurora, but an abrupt power outage disrupts his emergency communication. Irwin notices from the monitor that zombies are returning to the base, unable to breach the hydroponic dome doors. Their strategy involves unlocking the door to attract zombies into the airlock, where they administer an antibiotic spray. The spray initially proves effective, but Lane notices that the spray is not working for a longer period due to the bacterial resistance towards the antidote. While fixing the power issue, Vincent encounters an infected, wounded Harrington and repeatedly strikes the zombie's head with a flashlight. Unable to incapacitate Harrington, Vincent returns to the oxygen pipe. Upon extracting Vincent from the pipe, Kim hurls 2 antibiotic bottles at the zombie, distracting it while others attempt to flee the dome. The antibiotic temporarily works as the zombies fall on the ground, convulsing. Struggling to open the airlock, they notice Brunel's reawakening corpse from the glass window. Irwin decides to lock the door, trapping Kim and the zombie inside. The crew eventually opens the door, but the zombie attacks Lane and injures her with scissors before they escape. Lane is now affected. Exiting the dome, the crew heads to the rover. Vincent gives Lane an antibiotic on time, aiming to slow the bacteria and allow her body to combat the infection. Realizing the rover lacks sufficient power for the landing site, Irwin suggests traveling on foot. However, Lane's injury hinders her ability to walk, prompting Vincent to propose returning to the base for treatment. Irwin hints at alternative options, leading Lane to suspect he wants to abandon her, referring to the risk of infection. Lane counters that Irwin might be infected too, referencing Brunel's earlier attack on him. Irwin recalls another rover at Marco's excavation site with ample power to reach the landing site. Upon reaching the dig site, Irwin heads to the other rover on foot. Contacting Vincent from the vehicle, Irwin persuades him to leave Lane, convinced she's infected. Vincent refuses to let go of her, and Irwin departs alone, leaving the rest behind. Zombies follow their trail while Vincent and Lane drive the rover away through a sandstorm to escape them. Vincent takes a break, claiming they'll have enough power to reach the landing site in the morning, relying on the sun to charge the rover's batteries for an hour. Later, the Aurora lander launches from the space station towards the planet. Vincent, awakening in the morning, receives a message notifying them of the emergency rescue team. Vincent notices that Lane has left the rover. He follows her footsteps and locates her. Lane, sensing the infection is spreading on her, insists he keeps his distance. She tries to leave Vincent so that he can make it out alive, and she doesn't end up attacking him. As Vincent almost catches up to her, Lane purposely removes her helmet, succumbing to the infection and asphyxiating. Lane dies in Vincent's arms as he cries. Shortly after, Lane wakes up again, but in a zombie state. As she tries to attack Vincent, he reluctantly kills her, having no other option. Spotting the approaching Aurora lander, Vincent rushes to the landing site. However, he notices 3 zombies heading towards it. He tries to warn the lander crew over the radio, but due to the signal distortion, his voice is unable to reach them. The lander crew remains oblivious, and they open the door to the zombies. Vincent, who can only receive the signals, hears the horrifying attack on the people on the rescue ship. Vincent walks towards the ship and finds Marco's decayed body outside. He realizes since Marco was infected the earliest, his body decayed due to the virus, meaning the other infected will decay soon too. Boarding the ship, Vincent finds Irwin in the cockpit. Though conscious and self-aware, Irwin shows signs of infection. Vincent is scared that taking Irwin back to this state might risk the virus spreading on Earth. He refuses to allow Irwin to return home. The two get into a fight as Irwin pierces Vincent's helmet with a knife. In self-defense, Vincent takes the knife and stabs Irwin. As the spacecraft automatically journeys into space, Vincent fights Irwin, repeatedly headbutting him until he stops moving. Removing his blood-stained helmet, Vincent pushes Irwin's corpse through the ship's hatch. Later, Vincent communicates with Mission Control, informing them about the crew's infection and the horrific death of the relief team. He adds that the ship lacks fuel to reach the space station, but he has ample supplies for survival until a rescue team arrives to get him. However, he asks them not to reach out to him or send any help since he might have also been infected. Vincent discloses a plan to plunge the ship back to Mars if he confirms his infection. This decision aims to avoid a lengthy, agonizing death. Closing the message, he awaits a response from the Aurora. The lander then floats alone in the space full of darkness as Vincent waits for his death.